Welcome to the Super Expander podcast. My name is Corrine Phelps, your host. I'm a business and growth coach, money mindset expert, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. My journey has taken me all over, from working in finance to owning a boutique fitness studio. I found myself burnt out, miserable, and questioning everything. Saying things to myself like, there's got to be more to life than this. Refusing to settle for a mediocre existence, I went all in, learning how to harness untapped potential and rewire the subconscious mind to create an extraordinary life. The last 10 years have been a crash course in self-love, building a business, creating community, building wealth, and doing what it takes to just freaking go for it. My mission is to help you align to your purpose, rewire your subconscious to support your big dreams and vision, and create a life that you're absolutely obsessed with. So sit back, tune in, and prepare to expand. Julie Menden is a speaking and business mentor, high performance coach, and the host of It Starts With You podcast. She works with high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders to grow their business using their confidence and their authentic voice. Through her signature program, Speak Up, Stand Out, she helps aspiring speakers and thought leaders use their story and their skills to become paid speakers to grow their business and their impact. Welcome back, Super Expanders. How are you doing? How are you feeling today? I personally am feeling super, super excited. I have with me today Julie Menden, who is literally just a breath of fresh air. She is just so much, I don't know, it just makes me smile every time I talk to her, and I just enjoy it so much. I'm really excited to be able to share her with you. So welcome to the Super Expander podcast, Julie.
Thank you so much. And I could say the same about you. You've got this energy and confidence. It's amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like we can just keep doing this like a love fest.
Yeah, we could just, it's like friends chatting.
Yeah, we'll just keep swapping compliments. So I always love to give a little bit of context about how it is that we came to be sitting here. So Julie and I met in a mastermind, I don't know, probably about a year ago, I think now, something like that. And then we were in another mastermind together, because that's just how these circles tend to be. You're in one and then you move into another, and it's like, oh, hey, I know you from this place over here. And I had the opportunity over the past year or so to really get to know Julie and what she's all about. And I knew that you guys needed to hear from her. So Julie, everyone listening knows this, that I just waste no time. We dive in and we go super deep, because that it's more fun, right? Who has time to spend on surface level questions? So tell me, who is Julie deep down on a soul level?
I love that you asked that question. You don't mess around. It's like, let's go deep right away. So this is so interesting, because if you would have asked me this, a year, 2, 3 years ago, I would have been like, well, this is my title. This is what I do. And I think that's still the natural instinct for a lot of people, a lot of high achievers like I am, is like, oh, well, this is my accomplishments. This is what I've done. But I have dove more into this, like, who am I at like the core, and how do I bring that out? So you asked me that, deep down, I am this all encompassing. So it's so interesting. I literally have the words I am tattooed on my wrist. And so when you ask me who I am, that's literally what I think of, is it's I am with a period. Because when I've reflected on who I am, I always put myself in this box by titles, what I was good or wasn't good at. And I love this idea of just saying I am whatever it is that I choose to be. And I've discovered about myself over the years that I don't like just being a certain title or a certain thing. I like to be able to grow. I like to be able to explore. I need flexibility and freedom to kind of ebb and flow. So I find myself to really just say, like, I am. It's like whatever excites me at that time, whatever I'm feeling drawn to. I'm really big on self-trust. So whatever my gut is telling me to follow, that's what I am. And that's kind of who I am.
Are you a generator in human design?
I am a manifesting generator. And when I first discovered, I'm new to the human design world within the last couple of months, really seeing people talk about it. And when I went through and figured out what I was, I felt so seen. I was like, this is me. This makes sense. Why, when I worked in corporate, I was like every single year looking for a new promotion. And why in business now I'm like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. That is me.
Okay. So as you're describing, I was like, she's got some generator action
Yes.
going on in here. Yeah. And a manifesting generator, you guys like to move quickly, right? You like to be doing lots of things at once, right?
That is exactly it. And I would feel very constricted when people told me, no, pick one, pick a lane. I'm like, I just can't. And I couldn't put words to it until I discovered that.
You're like, I can't and I will not. And
Right.
it actually is more fun for me and more energizing when I have a lot of irons in the fire. I love that. I also love that you have those words tattooed on you said you're on your wrist.
Yep.
I love that. And the curiosity around that, because I think it is true as a high performer, as a high achiever. It's the first thing when someone asks you about yourself, it's like the default, which is really why I lead with this question, is because I feel like we need to change the conversation. And of course, I also think it's really fascinating when you listen to someone describe themselves, who they believe themselves to be, and then also the way that you kind of like you perceive them, because it's like an interesting conversation. And then how that also directly connects to whatever it is they bring into this world as a career, as a business, as their purpose, whatever arena you like to look at that in. So since we're there and kind of hovering, I'd love to chat a little bit about that. What is it that tell everybody exactly what you do?
So I am ever evolving, right? So I am a executive leadership and high performance coach. So I do a lot of executive coaching. I work with a lot of organizations. I'm also a speaker and a speaking coach. So when I introduce myself, you can see it right there. They all flow together. But I absolutely love supporting business leaders, high-level entrepreneurs who are really looking for that support in discovering who they are as a leader, how do they show up their best as a leader, and how do they speak and communicate in a way that draws people to them? How do they speak with clarity and with confidence and conviction, whether they are pitching themselves for opportunities or actually on stage speaking, they're delivering feedback. So everything that I do really falls within that realm of leadership, of speaking. And I do that through coaching. And like I said, keynote speaking. I work with organizations, and then I work with high-level entrepreneurs. And I have a podcast. I have a book that I just contributed to. So I've got a lot of things going, and it all thrills me. It excites me. It fires me up.
Oh, you do have lots of irons in the fire. So I have a whole list of questions I want to ask. But first, I want to lead with, so I'd love to hear a little bit of the journey of how you arrived to be coaching high level leaders, because it's not like that's just like one day, all of a sudden we're coaching high level leaders. Take me on that journey.
Yeah, for sure. So, I have a degree in interpersonal communication. So communication has always been like at the core. And, out of school, I had a couple different jobs as a career advisor and things like that. I was always found myself working with people to help them sort of uncover and pull out their skill sets. And I spent the majority of my time, I spent 6.5 years working for a large Fortune 500 company, working in leadership development. So I was in the HR space. I was working with leaders. I was designing training. I was facilitating training all around leadership skills like, influence and speaking with confidence and change management and all of that. And I loved this idea. And I also was that person who every single year had a new position. So every year there's always a joke that like what was in the air during April, because every April I'd be like, all right, what's the next position for me? I want more. I need to take on more. And so I literally climbed up that ladder, so to say, where I had a new position every year for 6 years and found myself in this new leader role. And I felt like in that time, I totally lost myself being a new leader, leading peers. And that's honestly the best way to describe it is I lost who I was, and I didn't know it at the time, but now I know. I was searching for something that I wasn't finding there, and I didn't feel like I could fully have the impact that I wanted. And I also saw this gap for leaders where we would send them to training and be like, okay, stamp, you're developed, go on. And around that time, I got introduced to coaching. So we would bring coaches in for the top level executives. And as I started to understand coaching and how it was different than just managing or mentorship, I was so incredibly drawn to it. And I said, coaching is the thing that people are missing. How do they take these skills that they're learning and implement them? And that honestly is really what set it in motion. I started looking into coaching at the time. I was feeling misaligned in the role. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go get certified as a coach. So I left that corporate job and I went and worked part-time in another industry, totally different industry, public sector, working with local government, still in leadership development, but it gave me the space to start to create what I wanted. And while I was there, I realized, yep, this isn't the final stop for me. I'm still really being pulled. Like there's more for me. There's more that I can do, more impact I can have. And then I started my business. So I got certified as a coach. I have quite a few different leadership development certifications. I kind of tooled myself up so that when I took that step, I would be able to step in and support leaders. And so I think all of those experiences together, having worked in corporate, having those certifications, all of that positioned me to be able to then work with high-level leaders and helping them develop.
Oh, that is I love that journey. It's like so interesting. I mean, what a level of self-awareness inside of that, inside of the fact that you were moving at such a brisk pace, which I think oftentimes people can tend to lose their self-awareness inside of that, like become very disconnected. So what was it that helped you discover there was a misalignment there? What shined a light on that for you, and how did you figure it out?
So interesting. I can remember the day that I made the decision. So it was this slew of things that were happening. At the root of it all was I felt like I had lost my identity because I had identified myself as this career person who was like, I'm going to be in corporate, I'm going to climb this ladder. And then I also identified myself as this very healthy person. I loved to work out, all of that. And within the same year, I felt like those were collapsing. There was things that were happening within the role that, as I mentioned, I just didn't feel aligned to where it was going. And there was some drama around the role of me managing peers and all of that. And I had started experiencing all these health issues, and I had take some time off work. I got viral meningitis. Like it was very severe. I was very sick. And so I was in this moment. I was like, okay, this no longer is going to work for me. And I was so stressed and overwhelmed. And I remember taking a day off it was in October, and my husband and I went for a walk. And I remember walking on the path, and I literally said, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to go. It's trying to find something else. And those things were the catalyst of making that choice. And I always say too, Tony Robbins, he was the other catalyst, because I went to his Unleash the Power Within event kind of all around the same time this was all happening. And it opened my eyes to a whole nother world of what we are capable of. And yeah, it set things in motion.
Wow. So when you left that position and you moved into your new position, did all of the dots kind of start to connect for you then?
Not yet. I would say I knew that it was time to make that transition. And I took this role not really knowing where it was going to lead. I loved that I was going to get to experience a new industry. I was going to get to work with leaders in a whole new way. And I knew that it was going to open up some capacity for me mentally, emotionally, time-wise. But I didn't really have like, okay, I thought maybe I would be there for, a few years. And it wasn't until I really started in it and I realized, okay, my heart isn't fully in this either. And I just kept feeling that call. I always say, like, I've always used my self-trust. I've always used that gut feeling. And it just kept going like, nope, there's more for you. There's more for you, until I found the time like, okay, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. And I left and started the business.
Oh, that's exciting. You just kind of dove right
in.
Is that I don't know the answer to this. Is that a trait of a manifesting generator?
I don't know the answer to that, but it was not a trait of me. Like, if this is why the amount of evolving I've done over the years. I was literally the straight A student, 4.0 all throughout college, everything. I had no fun. Like I say that, like I was that do what you're told, follow the rules, stay in this box, follow this perfectly curated, whatever life that you think is the right path. And I never made rash decisions ever. I don't think this was a rash decision. I thought about it a lot. However, I always got everyone else's opinion and did my pro con list. And so this was very outside of who I thought I was when I was like, nope, we're just going to do this thing. And we did the thing.
Now, has that become more of a practice then?
Yes, I would say I would say once you build that muscle, and I'm sure you experience this as well, like in anything, once you build the muscle of doing something and you keep doing it, then it gets easier. So when you're an entrepreneur, when you're running a business, you sort of have to be okay being uncomfortable and not having all the answers. And so, yes, I would say I've built that muscle more and more, doing things that were scarier, bigger, making decisions that I didn't know all the information, and then just seeing what the opportunity was and the results.
Nice. Okay. So along the way, as making big moves like this, there had to be somebody inside of there that was an expander for you, a super expander. I'd love to hear a super expander. Let me see if I can say super expander one more time. I was like, wait, hold on. I feel like I just said that a lot. I'd love to hear a story. I have a question for you. Have you joined the Super Expander free mentorship community? If not, what are you waiting for? Stop what you're doing right now and text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. Text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. I send out weekly tips and inspiration to help you grow your business, to step into your wealthiest, most highest self, to harness your full potential and live an exceptional and extraordinary life. And the best part is, it's really me sending those messages. So text me, say hello, and send me your questions.
The first person, well, let me say this. I have been blessed throughout my career to have so many amazing leaders and mentors supporting me. So like even when I worked in corporate in that role, which, I would say still very green in my career, and having these people that supported me and saw things in me. So there's so many people that I can think that really did support who I was and saw those things in me about what I could do. There was one particular, she was my manager, but I now call her, a mentor and a friend, who was my first instance of really having a manager who was more of a coach, who took, I say, this coach approach, because she was a certified coach. And that's really what opened my eyes to, well, we can lead people and we can help people draw out conclusions and answers for themselves instead of being told what to do. And we just formed this amazing relationship and friendship where she, I think, helped me to see more than I realized. And she had gone to Tony Robbins. She was one of the ones that, cheered me on when I did the fire walk, and was like, oh, you're a fire walker. And when I announced that I would be leaving the organization to kind of pursue all of these big goals and dreams that I had, just this cheerleader, you just felt like, wow, this person has my back. And yeah, I would say that would definitely be the one, because that would be one of the first ones that I was like, well, there's something else. And I have somebody else who's like kind of giving me that permission to pursue it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that it's always nice to actually have someone that you feel like is giving you permission, even though we don't necessarily need permission. It is kind of a nudge in the right direction. It validates that the things that maybe like aren't necessarily at the forefront of your mind yet, that you can achieve them. They might be like something you've been kind of secretly thinking about or wanting or desiring. I feel like expanders in that way too, oftentimes will plant seeds like, when are you going to do that thing? And you're like, wait, hold on. I wasn't even thinking about that thing. Or how did you know I was secretly thinking about that thing?
Yeah. And they see it in you. And I feel like they see something in you that you don't see, but then they also show you other things. Cause for someone like me who had never even considered with 1 ounce of my being starting a business up until the time that I really did. It never was part of my identity. To even know that that was an option and a thing that you could do was like, oh, I think that's what I think of super expansive. They're people that just open up your mind to so much more that's possible.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. I'd love to kind of move this over and into the direction of inside of having that expander, launching your coaching business, how you came to write a book.
Yeah. Yes. So I do a lot of, I run this coaching and training company where I'm supporting leaders. And I always say, in high performance. So it's executive leaders or it's business leaders who are really looking to get out of their own way, get unstuck, to show up in their highest, whatever their high performer looks like, whatever that looks like, to reach their peak performance where they feel like successful, but also fulfilled. Because that's a huge piece. Is I've worked with and I work with a lot of people who externally are extremely successful, multiple businesses or high level leaders, but they're totally burnt out or they're totally overwhelmed, and that's not full success. So it's, how do we create fulfillment and success for you? And so quite honestly, I started just putting out content around that. And that's how I grew a lot of my business, just through organic marketing, putting out content, doing videos and talking about client wins. And this is the power when you put yourself out there. Is somebody connected with me on LinkedIn, which I'm such a huge fan of. I think it brings so many opportunities. I talk to all of my entrepreneur friends whenever I'm saying, if you want to expand your business growth, this is a great place to do it. And an opportunity kind of fell in my lap. I say that knowing that I had done the work to put that out on LinkedIn, but somebody who was writing this series on peak performance reached out to me and said, hey, we're, kind of curating this book on peak performance mindset tools for leaders. Let's have a conversation about what that could look like to have you participate. So we had some conversations. It felt right. Again, coming back to that gut, I just knew oh, this is it. This is cool. I had big dreams of being an author. And I was like, this is a great step to be a contributing author, to get to write a book in my wheelhouse of things I love to talk about.
Yeah.
And so that happened last year, wrote the book and just launched. So it is now out there, and there are some amazing, amazing humans that have contributed to this.
Amazing. Let's hear the title of this book so we can all find it.
Yes. So it is Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Leaders. So you can check it out. It's out on Amazon. Order it up. Read it.
Well, make sure there's a link in the show notes so that everyone can grab a copy of this book and dive in. So something you mentioned earlier, you were talking about coaching, and I've had this thought to myself, is that, everybody really needs a coach, that you feel like that was the kind of missing piece from these courses or, certifications that these leaders were doing. And but it was coaching was the missing piece. And I feel like everyone should definitely have a coach. But I also think that there's kind of the stigma is the wrong word, but the coaching industry carries a little bit of a notion around it, or an impression from the outside world. And so when you're moving into that landscape of working with high performers and leaders, what has your experience been? Is it that people are just automatically all bought in, they know that coaching is something that they need? Or is it I don't know about this whole personal development thing?
Mm-hmm. That's such a good point. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I think there's a lot of noise when it comes to coaching, and it's still relatively quote unquote new industry. I would say just within the last couple years, where more and more, especially from an executive organizational standpoint, things like that, people are seeing coaching as something that you do to better yourself and not as a last resort. Because I think sometimes, especially from a leadership perspective, is sometimes it's hey, this person is underperforming, they need a coach. Whereas we're really trying to flip the script around what it means to get coaching. And so I would say it depends. I've had both, where people are more familiar. I think now that it's more common, we're realizing the benefit and more people are becoming aware of the industry. There's a little bit more information on it, and people are coming, to have conversations with me, and they understand a little bit more than maybe they did a couple of years ago. But it really depends on who they are and what they follow and what they've been exposed to, because there's still some that are like, I have no idea what this is. Are you just like a life coach? Are you going to help me with, all of this? And while I think life coaching is extremely important. Like I always make it clear, like I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not coaching you on, while we know that all contributes to who you are as a leader, I'm not coaching you on parenting, all of that. So I think it's first getting clear on what is their struggle, what is their challenge, and this is a solution and to help you with that challenge, as opposed to just using the word coaching, because that's like, what does that even mean? It's like, okay, let's get clear on what are you struggling with and what would it look like if we could move through that. And once you do that, you get more of that buy-in and understanding. But yeah, I think I'm sure you experience, there's just a lot of different views on what it is. And I think it's just a matter of making sure that you're working with people that feel aligned and that you both understand what your goals are in the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone is listening and they're kind of like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. What would your recommendation be then for someone as they're searching for a coach, how it is that you find a coach, that is reputable, because the coaching industry doesn't have a regulation the way that lots of different other industries do. So what are your sort of tips, advice on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a stance on this, and it might rub some people the wrong way, and that's okay. For me personally, some type of certification, reputable certification as a coach is required. Now, I say that hesitantly because I know that there are some people out there who have been through things and they can certainly help people. However, as somebody who's gone through a certified coaching program and through, if people are familiar with ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation, it's the governing body of coaching. They have programs that are run through them, that are radared through them. And if you're looking for a coach who has gone through this program, that because it is so unregulated, but if you are looking for a coach who's gone through that type of program, the ICF has a website that you can go and find programs, and you can find coaches that are certified. And, for me, one of the main reasons that was important, because knowing that I work with organizations and things like that, a lot of the times they are looking for coaches who are certified. And not to say that there aren't coaches out there that don't have an ICF certification that have something else, which is totally fine. But there has to be, in my mind, some type of training, because people are bridging this gap between therapy and coaching, which there's a difference. And if you're not trained to know the difference, we could be triggering people. We could be creating instances that you don't know how to hold the space for that. So my belief is you do need to at least understand what your coach is coaching you on and understand what their experience is. And if it's a business coach helping you build a business, that's something different. If it's a coach working you through blocks, limiting beliefs, things like that, I think there needs to be some type of experience. So I would say my recommendation is, if you're looking for someone who's certified, you can find that. You can ask them, talk to the coach, be clear on what it is you want, ask them what their experience is and how they've helped people, and then trust your gut. There's
Such
my rant on that.
Wow, that's why I asked. I wanted to hear what you had to say, because it is a real thing out there. It's a real conversation that needs to be talked about, and especially amongst coaches here in this dynamic, so that the people can hear, the public can hear the real. Okay, so I'd love for you to share how it is that everyone here in Super Expander land can find you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I would love to connect. I know you have some amazing people in community. So first of all, I am on all the platforms. So whatever platform you're on, I am on there. If you're a LinkedIn fan, I'm on LinkedIn. Instagram is at julie.menden. And I post a lot of content around speaking, a lot of growing your business with speaking, becoming a paid speaker, because I think that's a really amazing opportunity for people to step into their next level of leadership and growth. And I also have a podcast new to the podcasting land as well. It launched in January and it's called It Starts With You. So you can check out my podcast on all the platforms. It Starts With You. And then the book, if you're interested in checking out the book that just launched, Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Leaders, and myself and some other amazing authors are in there.
Oh, it's so exciting. Make sure that you go and find Julie on all the platforms. If you're not on Instagram, go start an account so that you can follow her.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out her podcast, grab the book, and let her know what your favorite part of the podcast was, and give her, tell her you got the books. Just snap a picture, share it. Just share the love, right? That's the best way for us to thank Julie for being here today, sharing her wisdom and sharing her time. So before we wrap it up and tie into the bow, because I know that you are a busy woman, is there a parting words of wisdom or just like a little juicy nugget you want to share before we tie this up?
Oof. Yes. It's the thing that someone said to me one time. If you could shake somebody, if you could shake people and just tell them one thing, like what would it be? And the thing that I will shake all of you and say is that you are so capable of so much more than you even realize, because I believe that to my core. And when we tell you it enough, hopefully you believe it too. So you are capable of so much more than you might be giving yourself credit for, and that you've totally got this.
It's just visual shaking.
Yes, I'm shaking you with love and telling you that.
I'm shaking you with love. I love that. So good. Thank you so much for being here today. I very much appreciate taking the time to share all of your talents and gifts. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we will catch you on the next episode. If you like what you heard, stop, drop, and leave a 5-star review and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. As always, the best way that you can thank our amazing guests is to share your biggest takeaway and then tag us on social media.